Hello, my name is Connor Scruggs, and this is my presentation on media multiplexity theory. Now, what is media multiplexity theory? Media multiplexity theory is a theory that proposes the idea that the more media that is used between two people, the stronger their relationship is. Now, when I say media, I don't just mean social media or online communication, face-to-face interaction, anything like that is included. However, this theory does strongly get associated with social media. I found a video that I think demonstrates it very well, puts it into practice. It is a little bit goofy, but it was also for a communications class a couple years ago. Um, and I think it really demonstrates it well. So I apologize if the volume's a little low, but I did turn on subtitles. Now, in the beginning of the video, we see the two girls talking, and they're implying they have a strong tie because they communicate via things like Pinterest, Snapchat, Facebook friends, these things. Plus, they're talking face to face, and it's implied heavily that this is a strong tie between these two people. And they have this third fella over here, and he is considered not a strong tie because the only form of communication he has between the two of them is face to face conversation. At the end of the video, they ask him to be a Facebook friend, and that sort of implies that they're building a stronger tie with him so they can be more successful in their group project. But what is a tie exactly, and what defines a strong versus a weak tie? So, a strong tie is an emotionally close and intimate relationship involving frequent interaction and emotional reciprocity. Um, so, really close friends, family members, people you grew up with that you are still talking to even after years and years and years, significant others, that kind of thing. And a weak tie is a relationship that is not nearly as intimate and requires less communication to be sustained. So, coworkers, acquaintances, people you've met in passing, people that you don't necessarily communicate with on a regular basis. You're friendly towards them, but you're not necessarily friends with them. Or they could just be friends of friends, that kind of thing. Now, how do these ties fit into media multiplexity theory? So, the more forms of communication or media that you share with one person, the stronger your tie is. So, here I made a little graph. We have somebody texting on their phone, using social media, talking face to face. That equals a strong group of friends or a strong tie. Um, the counterpoint that would just be, somebody that you meet, find them at a party, and you never talk to them again. Not really a strong tie, but not necessarily somebody that you have a bad relationship with. And how does this theory even work, or does it even work? Yes, it does. It sort of puts into words and gives a tangible amount of sustenance to something that people were already doing. Think about your significant other or family member, parent, sibling. How many forms of communication do you use with them? Do you text them? Do you call them? Do you send them videos on social media, Instagram Reels, Snapchat, anything like that? Compared to, let's say, your boss at work. How often are you sending them an Instagram reel or calling them on the weekend for something not regarding work? Which of those two do you think you have a stronger tie with? Why is this useful? Media multiplexity theory is useful because it shows how the number of media sources that you use to communicate um, shows how close you are to somebody else. Um, kind of gives an outline or a guideline to how communication works between people as we're entering an age of computers. With more and more communication being focused online and less face to face, how is this affecting, how people communicate, how people make these ties, build friendships, make bonds, and form relationships? And I think that's extremely important considering how focused on things like social media, computers, just digital communication in general. And why should you care? Well, you should care because the world is changing. We are moving farther and farther away from, a place where meeting people face to face is the norm. Normally you would go to the bar or a club with your friends on the weekends, and you still might, but you can also, call them over the internet. You have things like Skype or Zoom or Discord that allows you to communicate pretty seamlessly, and you can do things like hold viewing parties from the comfort of your own home that don't necessarily involve face-to-face interaction. You're sending more and more information online and communicating in all these different ways, and there's so many different social media platforms out there that you're not building those in-person relationships as much as you would have, say, 20, 30 years ago. And this was especially evident after the COVID-19 pandemic. We saw a huge increase of people that were communicating online, people that have never met in person, that were, forming these relationships, making friends with each other solely based off of online presence. And, you know, even 10 years ago before the pandemic, you didn't see things like that. And I think it is only going to increase as time goes on, the amount of people that we're seeing building relationships in these online spaces. And I think studying that can shows how it's affecting our mental health and the way that we as humans build bonds and relationships with other people. Is it the same as a face-to-face relationship, or is it weaker because we haven't had that face-to-face interaction? Can the amount of media that you use to communicate with somebody, if you increase that, say you use Snapchat, Instagram, text messages, does that equate the same as just talking with somebody face to face? And I think in today's society, it's important to look at that and study how that affects mental health. And that's it. Thank you.